Okay, I'm ready for some exciting news.
We got some big news, Stevie boy.
Have you hit the record button?
The record button's on.
Excellent.
Well, do you want to break it out?
No, I don't wouldn't.
You mean I get the honor?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're the senior member of the duo.
I'm older. We have some big news.
Yes, we do.
We have made a podcast name change, Stephen.
Yes.
You want me to break it out, or do you want to break it out?
Well,
let me give the backstory, Stevie.
Okay.
Violations and insults, which I take credit for, I thought was being witty.
And if you know you and I and a bit of our history, and again,
we get insulted a lot.
Yeah, I thought that, Mum being one of the main listeners, would understand why we used violations and insults, and we have explained it a little bit along the way, but for the people that know us, no problem.
They know that we get insulted all the time.
We're starting to get a little bit of feedback that people who don't know us, and someone encourages them to listen to our podcast, they go, I'm not listening to a podcast called Violations and Insults.
Yeah, they think that all we do is get on the mic and tell people they're fat, ugly, lazy.
Well, you only tell me that daily.
So anyway, and YouTube. Let's talk about the YouTube.
YouTube kicked us off, and we can't get a straight answer from them, but it is highly likely it's due to the name of our podcast.
Most probably, and we've had some great guests. Let's go. Sandy Brondella, maybe the greatest.
Michelle Timms,
Tiana Mangakahia,
Simon Curl, Brian Curl, Mark Dalton. Great bunch. I mean, we've actually...
Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah,
Do you think he's going to want to share violations and insults with the University of Arizona?
Correct. And the same, Sandy's not going to share violations and insults. Mel Watts, CEO, and we got it. So we're listening. Hey, you've got the honour. Share it. What's the new exciting name?
The new name is the Reverse Pivot Podcast.
And once upon a time, when we used to do in the old violations and insult, we do a lot of pivoting, but we are going to do a lot of reverse pivoting moving forward.
Well, we had our choice, and we spent a lot of time debating over forward or reverse.
Yes.
We settled on reverse.
Yeah.
I think the forward pivot does it even exist anymore in the game?
Yeah. The reverse pivot's a very excellent basketball skill.
You got to have it. And it was one of the first things when we were doing trials at Brisbane Grammar School, that everybody that couldn't come to a 2-foot stop and pivot, they're on court too, baby. They're going with the C's and D's.
Didn't even get to shooting?
No.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, you
it's
can't
good to
shoot.
see you still building up young men.
They're confident. I was so surprised. So why not? Let's meander a little bit. We had a practice game against St. Joseph's College, Gregory Terrace.
Yes.
They're very athletic.
I heard that there was a nail biter.
It was a nail biter.
On my grapevine.
Well, with the pillars.
10A's is
Well, that's the hotbed. That's the future. And, the pillars there on Campbell Center, the court, where you gotta crane your neck. You can't see the scoreboards from the visiting. You gotta get up and move.
Did you play Maroochydore?
No, Maroochydore is even better. Even better. Any stadium that has the score bench up suspended above you, that's a treat.
And to get a tech foul because you've actually bowled onto the court to actually see the score. Yeah. It was special, but that's another story.
That's a whole other thing that you got to deal with. I found out something new in the rules. If there's a foul before the ball is inbounded, it's only one free throw in possession.
Never knew that.
I didn't know that. I got to brush up on my, GPS rule. I think that's a rule now. I think that's a FIBA rule.
Okay.
NBA, it's 2 shots in possession.
Right.
So consider it a compromise. But yeah, I was impressed that they were very athletic. There's quite a few. I don't know. I'm going to guess they're from Sudan.
Okay.
You have quite a.
So they're athletic. Yeah.
They're athletic
as most of that that geography of basketball players are athletic,
athletic.
They're long.
And they're fast.
Yeah.
But our kid no quit. There's no quittiness. I've got a guard. And
Even though they're going to be engineers and doctors and stuff.
Lawyers. They're going to make great lawyers, engineers, doctors. I'm sure some will be entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
I don't know if I pronounced that correctly.
But you know what? The beauty of our game is they can be doctors, lawyers, and engineers and play basketball their whole life and enjoy it.
Absolutely. But we got up 41-38. We kept composed. I have a guard that I let him know, mate, you're going to be a mix between Steve Nash, Allen Iverson, and Tiny Archibald. Are you comfortable with that? Steve, you remember when your coach in Bundy said, Steve, we're going to make you into Paul Westphal, right? And Dennis Johnson, the combine. Are you comfortable? And you remember you said, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that.
Sometime I might have to do a secret podcast just to be sitting in the background, listening to you at training or coaching, just to share it with our listeners. But that's a whole nother level of entertainment.
It's a challenge in this because we have a 3-week break for school holidays. Next week's the last week of school.
Right.
And everybody goes away. And I said, geez, Dan, this will be interesting. They don't know what really our timing of our offense. They don't know how to help. You know, they wave at the balls that go, get your body there and take a hit.
Yeah. Have you taught them how to take a charge?
I used to do that. In 89 or 88.
I always did it.
I did it. And I showed them how to land, you know.
Yeah, on your ass, not on your head.
And then roll up and get your feet up there so they can't move anymore. And I demonstrated it, and lo and of course, I had a special group.
Mate, do you know, there is so many players that play the game now who will have never had the joy of taking a charge.
Best play in basketball. I mean, it is statistically the best play in basketball.
100%.
And we had an incident. I had to tell a young man he missed practice without the information can get to me. Then he popped in a late pop in, like 10 minutes late to practice.
And
we're already
this is the guy that's going to be the next Iverson.
Well, I let him know. We had a team meeting Monday before the game yesterday about you're in the B's.
What about this, listeners? This is seriously big stuff. 10A's team meeting. Keep going.
Well, he was dropped to the B's.
Yeah. Wow. How did he take that?
Poorly.
Yeah.
His dad even worse, but he rocked up because, you know, he came to he goes, hey, Owen Lou is supposed to be playing A's, but he said he wants to play B's. I said, get your gear on, baby. You're back. You know what he does well? And this is something for all you players, coaches, I don't know what you think. I know in the NBA, you get an offensive rebound, you look to kick it out for the three. Warrior, you name it, everybody does it. I'm a big believer, go up quick. Go up, man. That's how you're going to get fouled.
That's Charles Barkley like.
Oh, well, I think that's a
Charles
must.
Never kicked it out in his whole career.
Well, mate, how do you get to the free throw line, Stevie? We studied this.
I researched that stat. Charles Barkley never ever once kicked it out straight back up.
Well, I think the era changed. I think the philosophy changed.
But when you've got a quick hop, it's nice to get up again.
Go up quick, man. Make him block a shot. A block shot's a difficult thing. Hey, I'm going to pause this. All right. Well, we've done our introduction, but I want to introduce a very special guest, great coach, good friend, Michael Downer. Welcome. We're going to call you Mick for the sake of this, too.
I'd appreciate it, and thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mate, it's great that you're in town. That's a bonus for us.
You know what it is? I think it's just serendipitous.
Please use smaller words.
Our very first, under the name of the Reverse Pivot Podcast, we've got Mickey Downer.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
So you have the honour of being the first live, because we got to backtrack everyone, and we will explain to our listeners, not so much while we're talking to you, but we are moving from violations and insults to the Reverse Podcast.
We're going to go right through your coaching career.
Pivot Podcast.
The Reverse Pivot Podcast.
I'm honoured to be the first of something.
Yeah.
Wait, mate, now come on.
So
You've been first many times.
Mick, were you I couldn't find this in my research. Were you a Czech boy or were you a John Paul College?
No, so I went to John Paul College.
And what year were you
play-
kicked out of there?
I was kicked out of there in one of your previous guests, Rebecca Stevens.
Oh, really?
So I finished in 1995. So I started year 12 in 1994, and about a term...
And 3 years later you finished?
Yeah, 3 years later. A term in, they announcing the Horizons program was what it was called back then. They were going to start the program. So I actually dropped a subject that... 2 subjects that year, and kind of did like a hybrid thing. So technically the first one with Beck, and she was in year 11 at that point.
Yeah.
And we had a soccer player as well.
Wow.
So
and was Jeff Henderson involved in
Hendo
that?
was there.
Yeah.
Hendo was there. Small
Was
quick story.
Dick or Lick around by that?
No, there's a story there about that too, with how he came to be at John Paul College. But quick sideways shift, Jeff Henderson hit me up out of the blue about a month ago. He was in Japan with his wife.
Wow.
But we missed each other. We had, it was game day, but he was on the other side of Tokyo.
He's
so
a
we
great
couldn't
man.
we couldn't
He's
actually
retired now. And he's
retired 37 years.
Yeah.
And his sister Gail, right? Like
Gail
she
Henderson.
played.
Yeah.
He really wasn't a basketball guy. He was a rugby guy in cricket, and it was the old when John Paul
Mate,
College started. They said we need someone to coach a basketball team, and
You won't, but mate, well, Hendo played basketball because he played in Bundaberg before he went to John Paul College, and I was a little whippersnapper in the
he downplays his career.
I played my first year up here. He was on our team. I played in the local comp districts.
Yeah, okay.
And we played Clacker's team in the grand final. I thought he was a high IQ player. He got me the ball and got out of my way. Now, let's start with Japan, and we'll work our way back, because what a lot of our listeners don't know.
So
he's a silver medal winner. You won the silver medal.
I did.
Didn't you?
I've won some silver medals, yeah.
With Goulding for Queensland under 20.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not, I think Almighty Dwighty was on your staff.
Yeah, so that period of time. So we won the gold medal only a few years
Mick
earlier.
and I
See how
won.
I'm sure he served up an assist there.
I did.
We won the gold medal with the Dream Team, and I remember hearing on a previous podcast that Reece Martin played unbelievable. Mick Cedar, Stevie Way, Bainesy, and
Who would have been your MVP?
same as what you said. So
Michael Cedar.
him
was
or
our
Reece Martin, they
best
played
player.
unbelievable.
They played
Stevie had a good tournament too.
He had a good tournament. He doesn't mind a shot.
But
Bands had a good. I mean, they all played. We had a good squad.
That year, the year we played, so that was 2 years after when I got the head coaching position, and it was a bit of a ragtag team. Like we had Steve Costanza from Townsville and had a lot of injuries.
related to
I remember him.
George,
I do remember him.
So big guy, like kind of really raw player. We took a risk, and he was healthy for the 2 week period. Great guy, but yeah, so he ended up playing really well. Chris Cedar played unbelievably well. Controversial because I didn't pick Clint Steindl. He was at the AIS on scholarship.
Wow.
As a bottom age, as a bottom age, and he
Where did Clint go to school? Where did he grow up?
Churchy.
Oh, was he Churchy boy?
he was relocated down from
Mackay.
Churchy recruiting. They must.
Yeah, I'm sure. Whatever the wording is, on that. Yeah, he ended up.
mate,
He was enrolled at Churchy.
Mate, surely we can stop pretending about all this shit now, because now college players are getting played, but that's another story. We want to stay on you.
Let's get stuck straight into Akita.
Yeah. So can you, I'm not very bright, never have been, but I get confused with Japan basketball, because it's the B League, and everyone says it's the B League, right? Why wouldn't that be the A League? That always confuse. And then there's other leagues in Japan as well, correct? Or is that the only league?
From a professional point of view, the B League has 3 divisions at the moment. So
Right.
I think.
So how many are in second division? There's 24 in first division.
So the team I'm with is called Akita. They're in the top division, B1. There's 24 teams, 3 conferences of 8. B2 has 14 teams.
Okay.
Across 2 conferences, and then B3 has the rest to whatever that adds up to 52.
52.
And are all those teams like professional or?
Yep. So I mean, it drops down in budget and all those sorts of things, and just the overall size of facilities and infrastructure. But this is the last year of the current format. The season that's about to start, 2 of the teams from B2. There's always been that 2 teams go up, 2 teams go down. The 2 teams that are coming up, one coached by Andre Lamanis, the team that's based out of Chiba, they were the champions this year in B2.
So that Chiba that's in B1, that's not Andre's team?
No, that Trevor Gleeson is coaching that team.
That's right.
See, you'd see why it's confusing, because like most people, like I didn't know there were 24 teams. I didn't know there were 3 divisions. I knew that there was an up and down. And, I didn't know Andreas was in the B2. I just assumed Andreas would be coaching in the top.
It was a real confusing thing when he left the Bullets and took this job. New franchises have to come in at the B3 level.
Oh, really?
But he obviously did his homework and his agent, because they knew that. So that franchise, the area, it's in, which is basically kind of like Disneyland, the 30-minute drive east of the city. The city centre of Tokyo. So it's a massive, booming area. So the franchise itself, well funded, resourced well. They won the 3rd division quite comfortably in his first year there. They were always going to move up. Their expectation was to go up. So they've been the best team in the 2nd division for 3 years, but only the top 2 go up. They fell short at the semi-final level the previous 2 years. Although having the best record in the league, they're just different situations. They lost the semi-final series, but this year they won it, so they're coming up. And no teams are going down. So the top division.
Really?
So the top division next year is going to have 26 teams, and they're going to shift to 2 conferences of 13.
Okay.
That's a bit of a precursor to the following season. There's a big relaunch of basketball in Japan. It's called the B Premier, and so all the clubs have been kind of jockeying the last few years to qualify, revenue, crowd attendance, stadium facilities, infrastructure. They've been trying to meet this criteria to be a part of the new top league.
So would the B Premier League be less teams? Like, is that if there's 2 conferences of 13 in each, are they going to take one conference of 13 and that's B Premier?
No. So my understanding is, that was the question I asked. I was like, so is it going to be 10 teams, 12 teams, or because the criteria is set high? I said, what if more teams qualify? Well, basically 26 teams have qualified, have ticked the criteria. We're one of several clubs that have got, we've got to get a new stadium. So there's probably 5 or 6 teams that have either got to get new stadiums or get extensions, because part of the whole thing is broadcast and salary caps and the import. They're going to change the. There's all this stuff, but things booming.
Success story in that both Korea. When I was there in '97, it started in '96, but the plan was always that it'll go privately owned, but it was SK Telecom, Kia, all the major what they call chabols, big companies. They started with it, but it was always going to be, we'll stay as sponsors, but it'll be privately owned. And it worked. I don't know how many teams are in the KBL. But this was a great plan. Because my good friend Tommy Wisman was in there forever.
Right at the forefront of it when it changed. Yeah, when it changed.
He was like, man, ambitious. We got to build facilities.
Where do you, I'm just, call me ignorant again, but where do you fit facilities to build stadiums in Japan? What do they have to knock stuff down? Or?
Yeah, it's hard for me because the place I'm at is the equivalent to a Rockhampton or Mackay or a Toowoomba or something. It's a smaller centre. But
everyone supports the team.
It's just like when I was at the Cairns Taipans, that regional centre that's so well supported everywhere you go. We're the only full pro sports team in town. It's the big ticket.
Right.
Now there's a regional rugby team and soccer team and a women's team, but that's supported. But in the city, it's just like it is the same issues with Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane. There's so much going on in Tokyo. It was at 40 million people in Tokyo. There's events on all the time. It's even though it's easy to get around with the trains and all that
40
stuff.
million in Tokyo.
In the Tokyo area, and Osaka, like 30 something million. So it's a competitive marketplace for a pro sports team to stay relevant, to be competitive, and somehow basketball is just like
thriving,
just booming, absolutely booming,
thriving.
Like sold out. But it's
So
probably
then, how big is your facility in Akita?
We're about 5,000. It's this.
That, at the time, that's what they said. You had to have a minimum of 5,000.
Yeah, and like the new one, the one where Sheba Jets, big club, very similar to like a Perth Wildcats or a Melbourne United.
Is that where Trev's at?
That's Trevor Gleeson's team.
Of course.
They've got a brand new, like, 14, 15,000 seat arena. That's an NBA arena. It's a luxury suites and all these things.
Well, Trev could never coach in anything less than
He had his druthers.
that.
What's
My
the
good friend
popular? I
Trev.
know you know this, and obviously you let all of our listeners know you've never been to Japan, Steve.
I actually have.
You flew over.
No, I was flying with two of my favourite orthopaedic surgeons who are now retired.
Oh.
And we flew business class, JAL, into Narita, is it?
Yeah.
And you stay the night, and then you fly over the North Pole into New York. And let's just say it would be a very long story to tell you what happened in that overnight.
Well, make a long story short, I'm wrong. You have been to
I have.
Japan.
But
Okay.
it was very brief and very eventful. But let's move on.
Was that visa directed? Did they say you could only stay briefly in Japan? Troublemaker?
No, it was more about taking two guys, orthopedic
you
surgeon
were
in their
entertaining.
60s, into the truck bar that my pilot brother-in-law told me to go to. And let me just say it went on from there. But we move on.
Let's. So
I can
Akita.
adjudicate too. Like it's no.
If my memory serves me right, it's about a 3-hour from Tokyo. Let's say the Tokyo station.
It's just under 4 hours on the bullet trains, which is amazing. The travel,
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
great.
unbelievable.
And on schedule.
On
time.
schedule, and then I think the flight's like 50 minutes or something. It's not.
Right.
It's not long. So
So how do you travel to all the teams?
yeah, mixture. So maybe just over half, I think, of flights, and then
So
the
does it
other half-
have
the
an
other half are-
airport in Akita?
Yep, yeah, a little regional airport,
Great.
and it's a little bit like I spent a bit of time in New Zealand as well, on the South Island, New Zealand, coaching, and it's a little bit like flying, through winter, snowy mountains, all that sort of stuff. Gets a little bit bumpy. We had one flight, so one week this season. Unfortunately, it looked like a drawing of a 2-year-old, like squiggling or whatever the flight path drawing as we were trying to land and then go back around. And then I think he tried 3 times or something. We ended up back in Tokyo at like midnight, spent the night in the airport hotel, and then got a flight the next day just because of the winds and the weather and stuff.
And
But-
I know you're like Steve and I. You love group travel, don't you? I love waiting in queues. I love it. I get a lot of internal thoughts.
I think it's character building or something like that.
I absolutely loathe it. I couldn't do that again. I know how many dead hours I've wasted in airports in group or waiting just to check in. I love
Hey,
that
thank
time
God for
back.
podcasts because, in this day and age, you can have a 3 or 4 hour delay and, you can stimulate the brain and throw a podcast
So
on.
should we keep talking about you or Mick?
No, let's keep talking about Mick for the time being. Who are your imports? How many imports do you get? 3 or 2?
Yeah, so you get 3 imports. Only 2 can be on the court at any one time.
Right.
But across a 60-game season, and when you're playing the same team on a Saturday, Sunday each week, and then there's games on Wednesday sometimes. So you can get these really busy schedules where Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
like it's
Like
a
the
lot.
NBA.
So that part's not a problem in regards to like managing
The players.
the minutes and
the
stuff. Like
imports.
they play. They just play as much as they can. You just turn them over. The difference is just like the NBL here. The teams that you're allowed on your roster, you're allowed one like naturalized player,
Yeah.
or you can have what's considered an Asian import.
Philippines.
So there's a lot of Filipino players that play. We had a player from Taiwan last year. This year they're opening up Lebanon as
it's always
as a
been
country,
part
so
of
there'll be some Lebanese players in the league as well. So it's like any league. Like say the 24 teams in the top league, the top kind of 8 to 10 teams, big budget, big markets, they generally get the naturalized player that's still a guy that can start, can play 30 minutes a game. So they essentially have the naturalized guy plus 2 imports. So they got like 3 imports on the floor versus the middle kind of teams in the league might have either an Asian import or an older naturalized guy that can still give you something, but not quite as good.
Is the name Jeff Gibbs ring a bell?
He just retired, 44 years of age, played for Koshigaya this year, and had this massive, the way they treat the players with the send-offs and the testimonies was amazing.
He was this guy, Stevie.
He kicked our ass in one of the games.
He was at Toyota. Toyota won it when I was
Japanese guy?
No.
American.
No. He played at Oberlin College. He was an All-American in gridiron and basketball in college. And I think Oberlin's a Division
I feel like
III.
he's like 6'5", but has a 7'2" arm span. Like he's just got this massive reach and strong as an ox. Like plays undersized 4 and just.
So how many years did he play in Japan?
I don't know when he started.
I was there in 2000.
There you go.
Holy moly!
So 99, 2000. He was a biatch.
So he would have just been out of college, or not long, maybe.
Not long. I'll tell you another thing that this guy, to make post position, we would get down, his shoulder on your knee, right? He'd move you out, and I was like, this guy is unbelievable. And then big mitts. I think you would refer to him as a mesomorph in the body types.
Yeah,
long arms, broad shoulders, huge feet. I never saw him in the shower, but the guy had power.
But he had huge hands and feet. So you can just draw a picture.
Oh, he was tough.
He actually played on a team. There was a guy, Kai Soto, that played in Adelaide. He was on that team. They actually came up from Division 2. So there's guys like that. There's a few sort of 40-year-olds, a couple that are in. I mean, Jeff was in great shape. He looked like he could have played for another 3 or 4 years. But there's guys that really look after themselves and continue to get good contracts. And again, because there's a
so they're playing 60 games. So they're I'm assuming the money is appropriate for getting playing 60 games. They must get paid more than our imports.
If you're a naturalised import, it's significant.
How about Michael Parker Jr.?
Yeah, Michael Parker Jr.
Is it Parker or Porter? Is it Phil? There was a guy there, he played at Indiana.
Okay.
And he was still playing when I was, I was over his team. Here's another guy. His name's
Tabasay is like the Andrew Gaze or Leroy Loggins he is still somehow. He was on the championship team, the Utsunomiya team that won the chip.
Rex.
Yeah.
Utsunomiya. That's where I was. But we don't talk about me. It's the Mick Downer show.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I was going to reverse pivot.
I want to reverse pivot.
It's a testament to the medical support and because the scheduling's tough.
Yeah.
But the way the hotels, the travel, and then literally, I mean, just the culture of looking after people.
Yeah.
Like I think the fact that players, from what I see, like Vic Law, who played out here, played really well. Perham Buford played out here. There are guys that have played in the Australian League, and they take the higher paycheck, they go to Japan, and I guess they get looked after. But it's not for everyone. Like it's absolutely not for everyone.
So what's the quality of the American import? Like, I mean, obviously Vic Law can play hell, but I mean, we have seen. I think it's hard to compare generations, but we are getting guys that are on the bubble, especially the Next Stars program, that are on the bubble of the NBA. You know what I mean? There's talk of them, Montrez, what's his name? The Monster, Harold.
Montrez. Montrez? Is it?
Yeah. Well, I just say Monster because of theory. It's his nickname. Yeah, so I'd go with that.
Look, I think that the guy... So... Like the Australian NBL, clearly because of the money Larry put in with play the NBA preseason games, the Next Stars program, like that thing's gone from like the odd player, like Joey had Terrence Ferguson, and even before, way back in the day, there was
Giddy was
escapes
one.
me, but formulating an actual program and process and investing in it, like Liam Santamaria, who's the GM now of that Next Stars program. Like they're taking
Well, they just competed in Treviso in
so that's
Italy.
a fully funded program. It's working there, and so American-based agents, the big agencies that truly see the Australian market as a way, hey, go there, play against men, get hardened, improve your game, but come back to the NBA. It's a pathway. Japan's different. It's a different stage of people's careers.
The guy that played with Memphis, and he's from Utsunomiya. I can't remember his name. I should have done my research.
His name's Kawamura, the little guard.
No, not Peanuts.
The bigger,
yeah,
the bigger
6'9", 6'8".
Watanabe. He actually played for Trevor Gleeson this year.
Well, now, do you want to hear a rumor? So I was talking to Tommy. Can I drop a name?
Please do.
Tom Wisman. And he was saying that all he wanted was just, I've got a $3 million offer, right, to stay here. If anybody can match it, I'll come back home. I think they doubled it. He's on a big ticket.
So the rumor, I
love rumors.
I heard a figure that started with a 5 and ended with the same word that you just put out. So it's the biggest signing in the B League history. So let's say conservatively it was only $5 million.
Yeah.
Are these clubs getting their money from the owner, or are they getting it from their crowd and their sponsors? Do you know what I mean?
I think the business model is very, very similar. Like the difference would be is when FIBA stepped in a decade ago or 8 or 9 years ago, when there was. They stepped in and intervened and really were going to sanction the federation and the under the old company league. That's when it all changed, and so it got restructured and became the B1, B2, B3, but the reality is the top teams in Japan are still the company team. So to drop another name, Sean Dennis, who's done amazingly well over there.
So what used to be
Mitsubishi. So
he's a great friend of ours.
Amazing guy. He's been him and Andre and the other one, Paul Hanare, who's been over there, have been the expat kind of community of Australians and New Zealand really look after each other. Like it's good. So Sean's team, the Nagoya Diamond Dolphins, they've got the Mitsubishi diamonds on their jersey. So Shibuya Sun Rockers was the Hitachi team. So
that was part of that deal. You got to align with a city.
Yeah. So it's shifted. The model's shifted, but there's still that support. But then there's also just these private ownership consortiums. You get your revenue from merchandise and ticketing, and it's very similar to the Australian NBL. So similar.
Who is Toyota now?
That's Tokyo Elba, which is again one of the
Aishin.
Mikawa Seahorses.
All right.
I always get confused. It's a little bit like New Zealand. Like in New Zealand, you've got the name of like the region and then the name of the city. Like New Plymouth and like Taranaki, whatever. Like in Japan, it's kind of the same. It's easy. Where I am, Akita is the prefecture, is the area, and I live in Akita City. But you go where Bruce coached, like Utsunomiya is the city, and Toshigi's
the prefecture.
See,
the region.
I'm sitting here in awe of both of you because I struggle with one language, which is Australian.
Well, then you'd struggle with this phrase, Tetsu date kudasai.
Konnichiwa.
I'd say that every time I went to fill up my gas tank. Because there's lights, there's flashes, there's music, and there's a mic. I go, Tetsu date kudasai.
That's impressive. I just say mantan desu, which is just full tank, please. Or full cup.
Can you help me?
Hey, let's talk about languages then. So the guy who's the head coach, so I'm the associate coach of the team, and we've got a head coach.
Yeah.
I want to share his story because he's again, maybe this message resonates with your listeners, the people that coach. When they employed me, he sadly the guy that was the assistant coach was Kevin Braswell, and Kevin Braswell, who passed away in last season. He was the Utsunomiya head coach. So Kevin Braswell was at this club for 3 years, and through just a chance call, where I was trying to find a job after being at the Adelaide 36ers. I was working my ass off to try and get another coaching job, and I spoke to KB one day, and he had this thing in the pipeline of he was going to move clubs, and with his reference and the reference of Andres and CJ Brutons and other people, they gave me the interviews, and 3 interviews later I got the job I've got now.
Right.
The coach. They needed someone that could come in and really help the coach. He had tragically lost his wife to cancer the year before, and he was 40 years old. Japanese guy, has 4 kids, and he's not from Akita. He'd been in Akita for 10 years. He was the assistant coach for 5 years, and then was the head coach. So he speaks English. He went over to the States to a small school, Nebraska, Kearney or something, and
speaks
English, and he was awesome to talk to.
Does he speak English better than Steve?
Yeah, significantly. No, really good.
I speak Australian.
So,
that's right.
But this guy, his name's Kenzo Maida. He just through the interview process, the fact that I had 3 interviews to get over the line. I got offered another job in B2 as a head coach, but I was kind of weighing up like the culture of the clubs and all that stuff.
Isn't an associate coach you virtually like the puppeteer? You're the hand up the puppet.
Steven.
It's an interesting analogy, especially now the listeners probably can't see that, but just the visualization that you get.
It's just not appropriate, even on podcasts. It just takes it. Thank God we changed our name. But go on.
So he, the puppeteer.
So you're the puppeteer.
I'm the puppeteer. So he needed someone. He was honest. He's like, look, I've got 4 sons. There's days like I got to take my boy to the hospital or something, and that. So the thing that really stood out to me is that the club supported him during the tragedy with his wife.
Classic. Yeah.
So he actually had a good period of time off. KB coached the team for 50 games one year, and then he came back at the end of the season just to see if he could do it, and then KB left, and so they hired me. They needed someone that could just step in at the drop of a hat. And so Braswell, yeah.
What? He was young.
He was young, mid late 40s.
Heart attack?
Yeah, heart
Ticker, mate.
So
I got a question for you. You're going to have 2 conferences of 13.
Yeah.
Everybody, and they haven't determined yet which teams are in which conference. How many times will you play the teams in your conference, and how many in the other conference?
To be honest, I don't have the answer.
I was just looking
I would say we play our teams 4 times right now
in your conference.
I'm hoping if my math is correct, which wasn't my strongest subject, I think we would play our conference teams 3 times.
Okay.
And then the non-conference 1, but I could be wrong.
39,
48
13.
games and 12.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
That's 52
24
games.
And
yeah.
But
we don't know yet.
No, but it'll be about 3 or 4. Times that you play. Right now, that's what it is. We play
so do you have to have an interpreter?
We do have an interpreter. Also, he spent 15 years in America, university, and then worked over there. So he's really good on even understands.
But is he for you, or is he?
He's for the club. So he'll deal with stuff with he's involved with the contracts and with the apartments and
because obviously you've got American imports who can't speak Japanese either.
Yeah. But, so the point I was working towards, and
Steve interrupted you.
I got lost was so the head coach. We're in the locker room. You're down 20 at half time or up 20, whatever it is. You go into the locker room, and his ability to speak he'll speak in English and address the team, and then he'll flip straight into Japanese. And then, there's times where he's very succinct in English because he really wants to address in more detail to the Japanese players. He'll speak in more detail. Or the other way, he'll be very quick with the Japanese guys and then he'll speak in English. But just the ability in a timeout, there's situations this year where, the head coach has to go talk to the referees about something. So he's just hey, and so you're in there and I got the translator over my shoulder. But it's always, when the other team's had a bit of a run and we've had to call a timeout and you got no momentum or whatever, and so it's the same thing. You're going in there and you just, hey, we're okay here, let's go. But
and so what about the Japanese players? Do they
vary significantly what their understanding or their ability to speak? So we had a couple of our older guys that you could have a very basic conversation with.
I mean, the whiteboard's a whiteboard is saying
They know basketball. They know basketball.
Most of the, their education system, they're 6 days a week.
Yeah.
They go to school.
And they do learn English. So
they learn English as a second language.
Seriously, that could have helped Tomo.
How?
Mark Thompson, just going to school more.
Oh, well.
We had got a couple of guys today just do a workout with the Bullets guys, and it's the same thing. They put in some basic. Hey, before we scrimmage, we'll do here's some basic structure, talking basketball, visual. What I found, which is great for my own personal development, is you got to be succinct.
You can't use sarcasm. You can't use any irony.
Even humor, even too much humor, it's.
I got.
Well, I'm no good.
We at the halfway point. Let's go back to me now. When I was coaching
it's been a lot,
Tochigi my
this
second year.
podcast, but keep going.
Okay. We've won our first game, lost 8 in a row. And at that time of year, try to find an import that isn't coming off an injury or just ain't good.
Yeah.
We ended up getting Ivan McFarland. Do you remember that name?
Sydney Kings.
No.
Sorry.
Bendigo.
Bendigo. He played NBL.
Yeah. And 6'7".
Yeah.
But he hard on the offensive glass, ran the floor really well. We won our next 8. So we're at the Emperor's Cup. They still run that?
They do. So that comp is run by the federation.
Right.
But I think, it's one of those...
That's everybody, right?
Colleges. Yeah, it's the universities. And now it's being restructured next year because I think the B-League's really pushed back on it. But it's a big deal. It's 80 years. No, it can be longer than that. It could be.
It's huge.
It's a really prestigious
thing.
Yeah.
And
smaller clubs value it because it's like the FA Cup in if they still do that in soccer, but the smaller teams play and then just straight elimination. So
we'll get back to that. I want to find out who are your imports?
Who are our imports? So the season just gone, we had a French centre named Yanis Morin. He'd played in the Pro A in France his whole career, and then a little bit. He'd actually had just finished in France and then picked a 2-month playoff contract up in the Spanish ACB before he came to
And he speaks
Japan.
English?
Yeah, he speaks English fine, but he had quite a strong regional French accent, so that was I struggled at times to fully understand
his English.
Yeah, because of the enunciation and the phonetical difference. It's just hard to.
Robespierre.
We had a player. American guy, but with Nigerian heritage, who'd played, but he'd come from that Lithuanian team, the Euro Cup team, the BC Wolves. So kind of mid-level Europe, good player.
Another big.
So we had a 5-man French guy. We had a 4 who has been announced. He's coming back to the club. He was a replacement import my first year.
Would he have a name?
His name is Tanner Lesnar. So he, replaced the guy. We loved him, signed him this season, and then for the upcoming season, a Jesse Wagstaff type, high character, hard worker.
Well,
a little bit limited, skill-wise. It's not pretty always, but he's a catch and shoot guy, straight line driver.
Jesse's going around again.
It's amazing, unbelievable.
He is a freak. Jesse Wagstaff.
I love it. I love it.
I was involved in a coaching staff with him at a World University Games. 2009 in Serbia was when he came out of Metro State, and he was looking to sign pro during that off season. And we took a team. Billy Tomlinson had to pull out. I think it's when he may have gone overseas, and so his assistant Brett Coxage took over, and they needed someone that was available that could just go away for 6 weeks. Well, that was the year that I. Had finished my first year coaching with the Perth Wildcats in the NBL, and Connor Henry didn't get extended, and
you were with.
You had 6 weeks.
I had a 2-year deal, and I didn't know any different back then, and so I just got this piece of paper saying, "We love you, you've done a great job, but it's up to the new head coach, so we're not sure," and ended up in Bevo. And during that kind of time, it was just I'll go overseas.
So did they have Bevo and Mark Radford? And you?
No. So Connor Henry.
I was going to say that's a bench full of rangers.
Oh yeah, special, really emotional. Passionate sort of.
Hey, I'm all in.
No, Radford and I were the assistants to Connor.
Yeah.
And then when Connor didn't get extended, they tried to get Joey right when the Bullets fell over. Joey was up in Bali on a holiday or whatever. I think he was committed to. Whichever consortium was trying to save the Bullets at the time, he thought it was going to get over the line, so he turned the Perth job down. So they went with Connor. I helped Connor with his application to, his some assistance you should consider, and what you should do in your interview and all that stuff. We had a pretty good relationship because at the time I was Basketball Western Australia high performance manager,
Right.
out of the same building. So I was around the Wildcats all the time and just helping that. Connor and I struck up a really good relationship, helped him for his interview, and at the end of the whole meeting we had a coffee together. I went through the whole thing for him, and he goes, "What about you?" So the next day he offered me the assistant position. So and then Radford was the other assistant. And then when Bevo took over, he kept Radford, and that was the same year the Taipans, the Save the Taipans, they've had fallen over, and then the community Taipans model got saved, and Fernie got the job. He was over in the States with Nathan JY doing the whole NBA. That was Nathan's rookie year in the NBA. Fernie said, they're going to save the club, and so it was a kind of an easy thing because we'd already lived in Cairns previously. So I left the Wildcats and went to Serbia in the off season, coached Jesse Wagstaff, and a bunch of other guys.
What was he like?
Amazing human being, just like what he is now. Like, he's just unbelievable. And then I went to Cairns after that. So
how long were you at Cairns?
For that stint was 6 years with Fernie. But I had volunteered for 2 years previously running the Taipans Academy when Fernie bumped up. He went up as the leader. When John Dorge went to New Zealand, I think he left. Someone left the Taipans and Fernie moved up.
Dorgy?
I'm sure it was Dorgy. Dorgy was at the Taipans for a little bit.
Okay.
I can't recall Dorgy at the
think it was him.
Taipans.
I don't recall, but yeah.
But Fernie was like the second assistant when he retired. He was running the Taipans Academy. He was still playing Marlins, the Cairns Marlins in the NBL 1, and then whatever happened, he moved up to the first assistant position. Mark Beecroft came in as another coach.
Yep.
And I volunteered. I was the coaching director at Cairns Basketball.
So is Beecroft still involved?
He's still, at the moment, he's still the CEO of the Cairns Taipans.
So until they get their private ownership, then I looked at he'd be the first guy. There you go, man.
But that's been bouncing around, and Paddy's name was mentioned in that. I mean,
Paddy's now the general manager of the Rainbows.
I read that.
Man, you guys are all over your social media then.
Well,
you've got the latest mail.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mike.
That is this week's mail.
We
we had as a weakness that we needed to tighten up, that our research wasn't always.
Yeah,
as we're finding out right now, you're learning that.
Do you know what I'm learning about Michael here is that it's a bit similar to Greg Fox in terms of his attention.
Ivy League school level IQ or no?
No.
Oh, sorry, no.
Yeah, we had Fox.
Good memory.
And your memory and names. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm just dumbfounded.
And yet you still interrupt. So
well,
why not?
We should maybe call the interruptions podcast.
There should have been violations and interruptions.
You would have got that through the
So you have
censorship.
3 imports or only 2?
I love this. We go down. This is. You know what this reminds me of? And I love him like a brother. CJ Bruton.
Yeah.
Like, we'll have a topic, and like the first topic we talked about, we never kind of bookended that. But you just organically let the conversation go in whatever direction.
Look,
but then we're back. So we're back to the imports. 3 imports. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we got the French center. We got the guy with the Nigerian.
He likes to write stuff down.
Well, because I use it for future
So here's
research.
the formula. Most teams: 4-man, 5-man, and then a big that can play with either guy. So as you rotate them through, a 4-5 or 5-4. So then Christian Mekawulu was our American guy with the Nigerian heritage. He swung between the two. And we had Tanner Lesnar was our 4-man, our pure pick and pop.
So you have 3 or 4?
3. So Tanner, 4-man, Christian was our 4-5 combo big. And the French guy was our 5-man.
All the teams, because let's be honest, there's only one Watanabe. There's not a lot of height, is there?
No, and so this is and they would have been there. There's a couple of guys. One played in the championship team. These twin brothers that are 7 foot tall, Japanese guys, both are 40 years old.
40.
Still running around. Still ambling around.
Ambling is a great word.
Yeah, I mean, they're still serviceable in catch and shoot and a big body, but there's not a lot of.
We had no size, and we did. Everybody was the same. And I remember talking with. Can I drop a name? Tom Wisman was saying, "Geez, wouldn't this be good if we could get?" And he did when he was with Isuzu. He had a guy named Allen from UCSB, about 6'6", could play anywhere. He also had the guy from Illinois, about 6'5", and then they had one big guy, Hendricks from. You guys won't remember these names, but. Those swings, right, that can handle the ball a little bit. Well, back then we didn't have the size or the number of players playing in it. It was all the company league back then.
Formula is still the same. The MVP of the league, DJ Newell, who played at the Cairns Taipans.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
right.
Only did he also play at Melbourne? Newell?
Maybe he did play a year there,
he did.
but
he played. Because he could score.
Yeah. So that player, that prototype player, a big perimeter that can play pick and roll. And so DJ plays the point, like he brings the ball up.
Yeah.
So a Japanese player needs to guard him at the 3 spot, basically on defense. So he has this advantage. So Perham Buford, who played for the Bullets for a minute, when I was at the Bullets, he was MVP of the league. There is a bunch of big American guards or wings that are versatile utility,
right?
Or 0.3, whatever you want to call it. Like that's the type of player that does well. If you have a Japanese big or a naturalized big, you can have that type of player.
Can I ask a question off the basketball map? Have you been in any tremors, earthquakes? Because it's an unstable land.
Yeah, I've been in just minor ones, luckily. And that's the thing I talk about, like Andre spoke about it in his area. They've been through a bunch of, ones, and they got a routine now, like him and his wife, they got their thing in their apartment and stuff. I'm lucky, I've got a 3rd floor apartment, and we're, say like a 15-minute drive in from the coastline, and then far enough away from like the main river. So I feel quite safe with where I'm at with the architecture too. The way the Japanese build buildings and that, like
I was in a big one, the 9 that hit.
We spoke right around that time. I remember when you
last time I sprinted, and it was the first time that I had to sprint probably for 5 years before that, and I finished last, but the ceiling was falling down. Boom.
You were at the arena, right?
We were at the arena having a shoot around before we were going to play We were playing really good basketball at that time too. We just split with Toyota.
It was a conspiracy to shut
slow
them momentum.
It was a 9. It was
that's a
Blood Oath.
Yeah.
When's the last time a 9? It was like in Vociferous or Pompeii. That's how long ago that an earthquake of that size.
That was near the. Was that the one?
Fukushima.
The
3 nuclear reactors blew.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't understand Japanese. I couldn't call anybody. It was all on national, emergency stuff, and it'd go. And what they were saying was, in one of those messages,
don't go outside.
Don't go play golf tomorrow, Bruce.
But Bruce had a little game of golf with a nuclear cloud, but anyway.
Related to that, and also maybe related to coaches that are listening, that everyone wants, they think, I want to coach pro, or I want to coach overseas. Japan's a hot market, and like people, like, there's this allure of like coaching professionally abroad, and it's
not easy.
It is not easy. Like, and I remember they picked me up from the airport, and it was a 20-minute drive from the airport into the city and that, and it just hit you. It's like, shit, this is really happening. Like,
when you arrived, did Mel and your daughter come with you?
No, I went there and I was there for about 2 or 3 weeks first, before, just with schooling and stuff. There was a holiday for them to come over, and it was tough. Like, and I heard Sean said that, Andre said that, like, you're going to experience some really emotional times this first 2 or 3 weeks. It'll get easier. And for me, it's like get on the basketball court. The quicker I get on the basketball court and just stay busy. Going shopping the first time.
And I guess there's that universal language, a little bit of, as you said, they have a basketball knowledge. You can show them the whiteboard and...
So can I, that's a good point, but do you ask your players questions?
Yeah, the thing that yes, I do.
I was told at this meeting that I told you before we had the Emperor's Cup, why are you asking the players questions all the time?
No,
Don't you know what you want? And I'm go, well, no, it's for understand learning. You know, that they understand the why, the how, and the when.
Yeah. So I always work, because also I coached with Andre for a long time, and his approach to team culture and like getting buy-in from players and empowering players and having conversation, asking open-ended questions and you know, and then having strong leadership around, okay, I hear you and I hear you, and all right, but this is what we're going to do. This is what's best for the team right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's still very authoritarian. The coaches feel shame if they, you know, like they direct all the traffic and the conversation, and the players sit there and nod, and you know, so there's not a lot. A few of the veteran players, like, and I'm only speaking on our team, and then the rumours or the way coaches talk to each other.
I had to figure that this was unusual. You know what I first smelled? I'm going to get fired. You know, I mean, here's one of the excuses that we're 8-8. We're in a dogfight every game. It was, why are you always asking them questions? Why don't you call timeouts? Why do you save all 3 of your timeouts for the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the guy. Go, well, mate, you've seen us? We're in a dogfight every game. We're not blowing anybody out.
Yeah, we'll win it in the last 5 minutes.
Correct.
Yeah,
and I need those timeouts.
Yeah.
But you know, when they make a run, you know, the crowd. Why aren't you showing signals? They love that. Do they still love that? They're running 4, everybody. And the guy makes a different cut, and the guy's caught out.
Yeah. So, but it's also the paranoia of like, you've got hand signals or whatever within your own team, but then there's like, oh, but we don't want to. Like, we do use some, but it's like, oh, we don't want to show the other team. Like, it's still a bit of that. It's like, man, we practice like, God knows how many times a week. We still don't know. We don't have our stuff down with all of our reads. Like, who cares? Yeah. Like, but there's definitely this thing within the culture around the coach's role as being the guy with the answers, with the knowledge, with the experience, and you lead your playing group. You know, now that's shifting a little bit with the world of basketball, because again, Japanese, they're awesome people. The experience I've had with the coaches I've connected with. They are Chris Oliver's basketball immersion, the transformational basketball with Alex Sarama, like all the kind of like the modern coaching pedagogy, like, and the people out there on social media that have these, you know, modern ways to coach, like the guys listen to this.
All that sort of stuff.
That's kind of part of it, but it's just more how to approach, I guess, the art and science of coaching these days with the current generation. But it's like this tug of war between like traditional block coaching and authoritarian coaching, directive coaching, so you look like you know what you're doing.
Rather than the player making
what do you think about that? What are you seeing? You've just come off 5 pick and rolls. Like, what are you reading? Like, So the older guys that have been around a bit, they'll speak up more. But there's definitely that, like, and so for instance, like the older, like I'm senpai, the older guy in my group. I'm 47. The head coach is 41. In the interview process, it came up 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, but
and they treat me. They treat me like the older guy. Like, I want to get down there and play bad defense in breakdown drills and dummy D and stuff and that. But the younger coaches come out. Oh no.
You make it.
Yeah. We'll do that. So there's this thing around. But the head coach and I, it's just great. Like I've really helped him. He's really helped me with the cultural piece and understanding, and he's just so confident and comfortable in
himself.
In himself, it makes it so easy, and so we can have like conversations that you would with a 2 Australian or
where
coaches
there'd be other coaches that would be very mindful if you said something and you're speaking out of place. Is that sort of...
Yeah. And I don't want to step on anyone's toes in that, but you want the team to do well. And it's like, so when the coach is like, oh, what do you think? We have our staff meeting, and it's like, you know, the second season, I've bit my lip first and let the young guys, they've got stuff to offer. They see stuff and they have the relationships with the players.
Yeah, and they're doing it. They're the ones doing it.
So that's the thing. Dre said that to me because he knows my coaching style. Like people, you know, my ability to build relationships with players, I believe, has been a strength in the environments I've been in.
Yeah,
I can read body language well enough, no matter what culture, to say, man, something's going on with that guy right now. But how do you sit there with a language barrier and go, is everything okay? How's the wife? Or, you know, like, are you feeling
it's
like...
It's the type of thing you would bring a translator into. Huh?
and that's the thing, you know, like, so that's, I struggle with that because I want to have that conversation.
You want to know them on and off the basketball court, because it does affect their performance on the floor if their wife's, sleeping with the neighbour or something.
And show that you care. You genuinely care. Well, I went on a pre-season road trip.
Most husbands do care about that.
Sure.
Yeah. We did an hour drive up to this famous kind of peninsula from where we live, the city I'm in, with the assistant coach. He's basically he can write a little bit and knows just a little bit of basic English, but not much. And so we just sat in the car and basically did a day trip in one of the off days, and we spent the whole day in Google Translate, and he took me to a small it just throw yourself in the deep end and try and figure it out. It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm learning the language, but it's more the social protocols first.
Absolutely.
And then try and time and place and understand like the president. I don't know whether to bow or we're doing fist bumps and stuff, but it's the basketball director who's an absolute legend. Hasagawa-san, you coached him.
I did.
So he's our basketball director. I see he walks in the building. There's just this aura about him. He's a big guy for a Japanese guy, and people are like, we're just like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
So it's intriguing. I love that stuff though.
And is the Japanese basketball as a whole, with it becoming so popular, is there an improvement for them on an international scale, like their national team and stuff? Is it getting better?
Well, the women under Tom Hovas won a silver medal in Tokyo.
Yeah.
That was impressive. And the men didn't fare well in Paris.
No, I think they're still I feel like it's a bit like New Zealand. The very, very top end, New Zealand haven't been able to get Steve Adams. Japan have kind of been a bit hit and miss with their just couple of NBA guys. And
their stud is the guy at Lakers. I can't say his name.
Rui
Hachimura.
Yeah.
Is he there?
With him and Watanabe, Watanabe would have played in Paris.
Yeah, so they did, but Hachimura ended up having something happen, and he ended up not playing the last couple of games.
Right.
It just sort of.
It's wafer thin, the little guard. Yeah, you said what was his name?
Karamura picked up a job in the G League. He's an exciting machine. Togashi is the captain, the small guard.
The small guard with Memphis. Is he with Memphis?
Karamura is the small guard.
Oh, that Kawamura. I'm sorry. Yeah.
NBA threes, got the thing on a dime, but I think
no bigger than a minute.
No. Huh. But to be successful
10.
at internet, he's
tiny. Fits in your pocket.
You got to play in it. It's tournament. It's Olympics and World Cups tournaments, right? So anything can happen in tournament play. Yeah. Injuries. You get 4 guys go down with gastro or sickness. So anything at all. You can hit a purple patch. So you need to be so deep from 1 to 12 so you can handle tournament play. And I feel like they're just the drop off, that seems to be the separator. Even the really good European teams, they'll have their couple of they'll have their few Latvia, is it Porzingis maybe?
Yeah.
But they've done well in certain events, but then to sustain it through a whole tournament, that's why Spain was so good, because they're 11th, 12th guy. I think that's why the Boomers have got to a point where they're. They can be a medal chance, because it's not 1 or 2 NBA guys they're relying on. They've got depth, across positions, and then starting to bench.
I don't ever see Furphy's name mentioned in any.
He got on the court in game 2.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, he got on the court because they were up by 20. And he got on.
I don't see Traver's name being mentioned. Is it Travers that's with Cleveland?
Travers, has there been a walking triple-double in the G League?
Why isn't he's not mentioned? When you look at the guys that,
mate.
It would be one of the hardest jobs right now is the depth chart
of our next
Australian talent and trying to figure out.
It'll be all NBA. There'll be unlikely someone from Australia will make, unless it's a development player or something. They'll be all NBA players. We've got more than 12 now playing in the NBA, don't we?
Yeah. Well, the other thing will be is with the NIL stuff with college and then just the appeal of that. I can't fault a 18-year-old going, I'll go sign 700,000 or $1 million or 500,000 and set themselves up and their family. I just wonder Europe. I really wonder. There was such this natural thing of not many Australian guys were in the NBA. there was a few, you know, like Longley waved the flag for a bit, Gaze for a minute there, Anstey for a minute.
Bradkey for 1 minute.
Just a few here and there, and then obviously like Luke Longley was a key
start.
piece.
Yeah.
Then Bogut, right, for a good chunk of time, but there was always Europe. You know, like the Boomers was a European
based
based
most of the
team
guys were playing,
with NBL talent. With, you know, the odd now it totally shifted. So, you know, the NBA, and there's been a couple of the NBL players, you know, the Chris Gouldings of the world that have somehow made, you know, they've worked their way into that spot. But
he's an elite shooter.
I guess my thing is Europe. I'm really intrigued to see over the next 5 to 10 years the makeup of
The Aussie team.
Boomers with what we have in our system here.
Yeah.
And then being able to really go through the NCAA and go into the pros, the G League, the two-way contracts,
Well,
the next stars. It'll be really interesting to see.
You're getting quite a few, some talent there.
Yeah, but
how many? Sorry, Steve, how many guys in Europe?
Honestly, I've got no idea, but it doesn't feel like there was a good chunk. Like, you know, when Dave Barlow's and Daniel Kickett's and David Anderson, like. You know, there was
marriage.
There was tons of guys like that when you looked at who were the best players, or we were losing guys out of Australian NBL to Europe, or we couldn't get them. You know, it's like you get guys trying to recruit guys back into the Australian NBL years ago. Like they didn't want to hear.
Well,
they didn't want to hear about coming to the NBL to play as a rookie. It was like, I'm going to go to. Now a lot of that was false. They didn't understand that you could be, you know, sitting in some dodgy little apartment in some small town, not earning big money, like as a rookie contract in Europe, compared to, you know, coming back to the NBL. But all of that stuff's changed, and it's just I just think it's going to be really interesting to see how it keeps evolving now. With
but you think about this, young guys getting money going to college. Okay, I have no problem with it because the college NCAA make a shitload of money out of these kids, right?
Oh yeah,
but they're still a kid. Right, so that's not going to, because someone gives them $500,000 doesn't make them a better player. Like, they've still got to earn their trade. They've got to learn to be experienced. This doesn't come overnight.
No.
I mean, just talking about names, there's that kid at OKC as well, Alex Dukas. No one talks
There's
about.
Another one that
great
gets
career
mentioned.
at St Mary's. I remember watching him as a junior at WA, under 20s.
So what's he, 6'7"? We played against him in under 20s. He was tough.
Again, it's been a while since I've seen, because I've been away from him. I just remember like a Glenn Saville, Sam McKinnon type good body, like a good sized wing, like, and could kind of do a little bit of everything from memory.
There's a name from the past, Glenn Saville.
Hey, is there anything around grassroots basketball or coach? Or I'm conscious of our
I wanted to ask
time,
a
our
question.
chats, and I'm not sure. Yeah,
This is critical. Other than Nick Kay and Brock Modem, are there any other Australians playing in the B League?
There were some in. I'm just trying to think. In maybe B3, there was a couple of young. Reese Vague. He went over there.
There was nothing specific, but there was Reese Vague.
Who else did we have? The young big kid, Ferguson from WA. He was over there in B3. Probably a few more New Zealanders, and I think again because of maybe Paul Hinare's connection, and like Isaac Fotu was on the championship team. But
can I reverse pivot? I just want to because
you did research.
Yeah, Newell played Newell, who you said is MVP in the okay. He played for the New Zealand Breakers in the 17 and 18
that was
season,
the other team,
and he played 18-20 in Cairns.
So
he's had 5 years over there in Japan since. And you know he was a good player, but he wasn't the best player in the league here by any.
I'm sure, and you can get the people firing up on the keyboards and, you know, engaging with your social media platforms if we get this wrong. But I feel like that was the really good point guard that Ken said, either Scott Machado or one of those guys, and Cam Oliver. I felt like DJ Newell and Cam Oliver,
out of the league.
They got hot one year and they made the playoffs because DJ Newell was like the glue guy that kind of did everything. But I'm sure they had the other two.
Been the coach, wouldn't he?
I feel like that was his second year. First year he kind of inherited what he inherited. The second year he had a real good run.
He did.
And then maybe it's been a bit lean since then. They've kind of had injuries and bits and pieces.
No money, man. I mean, if you're holding a tryout and you sign 3 guys from a tryout, Adnam, I can't remember who the other two were.
the
I didn't do
young
my
kid.
research. I didn't know we were going to
Hey,
go down this
I just
path.
want to fire him up a little bit. Let's get some controversy into it. Like
All right.
I'm upset that I'm not the Cairns Taipans or Brisbane Bullets head coach. I haven't had a chance yet.
You
like it's frustrates
deserve the
the
chance.
hell out of
So,
me.
mate-
But it is the world. But when you talk about budgets and
Yeah, but-
Taipans, I don't know if there's anything
Would
you
you
want to
wanna
talk
go there?
about that.
But would you, like, you're plying your trade, and mate, when I look through your schedule, you got 20 years and you've been doing a great job, you know, you're plying your trade in other parts of the world, right? Have you got a desire to come back and coach in Australia? Is that your...
I'd say everyone has dreams, right? Like it would have
Absolutely.
been, it would be, and it would have been great if I was somehow involved in the 2032 Olympics.
Right,
My
okay.
parents will be quite elderly by that stage, hopefully still alive.
So that's
I'll
your
be in
goal.
my mid-50s. I think it'd be a really cool thing, like to get an Olympics in your home city
Yep.
would be
Well, you
amazing.
better get in close with Andrew Bogut.
So it's funny because Adam Capon was my assistant coach in 2011 at the World University Games in China, in Shenzhen.
Okay.
But so like my dreams, like I'd love to, like when I was with the Boomers, I started as the tech.
That was
the tech.
Paris, wasn't it?
No, when I was with the Boomers, it was Rio.
Rio, okay.
So I did a bit of volunteer work when I was the Emerging Boomers head coach. I did some volunteer work for Brett Brown early when he was the head coach. I went to camps and stuff. Andre and Marty were the assistant coaches, and so I aligned the Emerging Boomers with the Boomers, culture, language.
Right.
I guess that was.
Well,
around-
you also did the World University Games.
So I was all around 2010,
Yeah,
2011, 2012. Went to China as the head coach of the Boomers, but it was a emerging
yeah.
Boomers group while the real Boomers were getting ready for London Olympics.
Right.
And then Dre got the head coaching job for the Boomers, and it's funny because we were at the North Shore Event Centre, which is in Auckland, when he was coaching Breakers. I was with Taipans. We walked past each other. He tapped me on the shoulder, said, "Mick, I've got to talk to you." I said, "Yeah." And then goes, "I'm interviewing for the Boomers. I hope you don't mind. I put your name forward. I forgot to ring you. I'm sorry, I've been really busy, but let's talk about it." So anyway, that's how. But I'd done the work. I'd been with the Emerging Boomers. I'd volunteered at the Boomers. So that experience, though, the highlight of going to an Olympics. After the World Cup, we went to the World Cup in Spain, 2014. That was with Gordy McLeod was on the staff. He had to leave the staff because there was Illawarra debacles in the off season. He had to pull the pin to go and stay and try and do the right thing by the club there, help the players out. So that's when Trevor Gleeson came in. He came in quite late.
And who was the head coach?
Andre was the head coach. Luke Longley and Trevor Gleeson were the assistants. Luke had his own role. Like it wasn't technical, tactical. It was
Biggs,
Bainsy, JY.
Yeah.
So Dre and I had a pre-existing relationship and really good. I worked well with him, so I got pretty involved with staff, and so basically bounced up into an assistant coaching role for the Olympics, because it made no sense. Will Weaver, who was my assistant, helping me with the analytics stuff. Brett sent him out here just to get a taste of international basketball. He was an absolute stud. So the two of us worked and paired up with Trevor and Luke. We reviewed the World Cup, and then going into the Olympics, it just made sense. Instead of me and Will doing all the grunt work for the scouting and all that stuff, and then trying to hand it over to Trevor late, it just made sense for us to do it.
Right.
So we kind of revamped the roles, made it from a workflow, made more sense. So I enjoyed that. But to be honest, in the last 20 years of my coaching, the situation at Clubland was quite difficult. It was the Taipans allowing me to go away in the off season, because back then you were away for a long time. We were in Europe for a month and then away for the Olympics or the World Cup. It took a toll on the back home, because Aaron Fern was the head coach in Cairns. His wife is American. Like, he had his own stuff going on in America as well, summer leagues and recruiting. So for us, the two of us, to be away, it just wasn't going to be feasible long term. So the thing I regret, I'd love to be involved with the Boomers again at some point. So would a lot of people. But when Andre got the Brisbane Bullets job, it was after the Olympics, and I kind of had to he basically said, look, I'm going to take the Bullets job, and then he offered me a job as an assistant.
Yeah.
I had done a job at BQ, Basketball Queensland, for a minute there in coaching education space. And then this job came up, and I was like, this is too good to be true to finally be part of the Brisbane Bullets coaching.
Being a Brisbane kid,
boy,
right?
I'm a Brisbane kid. So I accepted that job with Andre, but it came at the expense of the Boomers.
Right.
Because Larry wasn't going to pay Andre to be the head coach and have me as well as the lead assistant to then both of us be away under the new FIBA window format. It wouldn't have, I had to, so it was like either stay involved with the Boomers and find a job somewhere,
Right.
or get my dream job of being on the coaching staff officially of the Brisbane Bullets. So I chose the Bullets, and Andre was great for me, but it was a grind. You know, those first years back with the Brisbane Bullets, and
Still a grind. It's still a grind here, mate. I mean, we had the CEO of the Bullets on here just recently, and we quizzed him about the coaching decisions. I guess it's difficult. Look, we're still Bullets fans. Like Bruce and I,
definitely a Bullets
this is
fan.
our
I
team.
believe Bullets.
Yeah, like we've all been involved in the Bullets, you know.
Yeah.
Coaching, and I think I stepped over the white line a couple of times, but it was very ugly. But I guess the point I'm making is the owners are in the US, and they're just, to me, I mean, Mel, I think he's doing a great job here locally. The facility, he made the decision to move to Boondall, which was a big one.
Yeah, big.
But you know, as much as I preferred Nissan because that was more convenient for me. I
preferred the convention center because that was a funner place to go.
Yeah, but
Right down in the
South Bank region.
Yeah, but
it's heading the right direction, though, right? Like
I think the ownership in the US is the concern for me.
Yeah.
Like we obviously need to have people. You know, you say you own an NBL team, and we've often joked over the years and go broke. You know, but it seems to be better. Like it seems to be the money's side of things, and if you run a good ship, you'll be okay, right?
Yeah.
But when the owners are in the US and they've got bigger, it's nearly like it's a fun thing for them, like because they need to be able to say on their resume, I've owned a team in Australia, so now I can be somehow involved with an NBA team. Do you know, like it's.
I guess the thing is, though, whoever is on the ground in a senior leadership position, if they have that genuine connection, right, with the basketball community of Southeast Queensland, then that's okay. If they're doing the right things, like their actions are, you know. So
I mean,
again,
you can criticise them, and look, this is all over social media. If you want to go look it up, people question, you know, Coach Stu Lash.
Yeah.
They're questioning why they recruited a Kiwi kid who can't even be in the squad for the Kiwis, and the Kiwis are trying really hard to make the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think the kid Holt might be okay because he's Vandy sourced that kid out.
It'd be really okay if he gets his citizenship.
Yeah. And but then, you know, we're still waiting on the imports here. But anyway, the Bullets is another side.
It's always been the same thing though with the NBL teams is the local flavour. I mean, it's like the owners put the money in, it's their risk, so it's like their decisions is.
Yeah, but I guess if we take the Kiwi kid, I mean, I hope for us that he turns out to be great, but he's a 6'5", played in a not great league.
Does he knock it down? Is he a great shooter?
Well, supposedly, but you can't see evidence of it. Like he averaged 5 points or something in his last year at NCAA. But is there not a Queensland kid that can be equivalent to that?
See, I don't think Larry Kesselman, the owner, he sees this as entertainment. Yeah. He didn't give a shit if they're from Melbourne, Queensland.
Sure.
It's not regionalized.
Entertainment is what generates the revenue.
Correct weight. And because I was saying, we asked Mal that, the CEO of the Bullets, why isn't Roman, I can't pronounce his last name.
Sulipa.
Sulipa?
Yeah.
Why isn't he in your squad, mate? You got this guy that averaged. Here's the best athlete, MVP of the under-20 Nationals twice. I
don't know who's advising that kid. I mean, I don't know.
If he's going to Pitt, it's Daniel Moldovan. You know, so
Okay, well, but remember he went down to Tassie as their development player, and that didn't work out because he wanted to play rugby with his mates since State High in his last year of school.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that didn't go down
We
well.
had like I was in Adelaide for a quick minute, and Lachlan Albrecht, he's the equivalent in Adelaide, like the local kid, and had trained with the team and stuff. And I think the 36ers just thought they had him, like they had the relationship and that. But
that kid could go to the NBA.
Yeah, and so that, I know like that was like a real gut punch, missing out on him signing in Illawarra, like. It's sort of, I mean, these things happen. So,
I mean, you can't have, but I guess we put our maroon jerseys on, and we see Bubbles and we see Clint Steindl have these careers, and they never play 1 minute.
Now most of these guys are at the tail end, but
Correct.
Well, I would have got Brock Modem. I would have got. Remember when you guys were assistant, we talked about you don't have the money.
yeah,
Because Bubbles is getting paid big, and then.
And he
like,
deserves
I remember
it,
Andre
mate.
saying, "Mate, we're talking bigger than Europe."
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, okay, all right, he's out. Brock Modem, I would have gotten him. Mitch McCarron never played for the Bullets, ever.
yeah.
And now he's done. He's the GM of
The Players Association.
of the Players.
Yeah.
So it's a good job. He can make a difference in that.
Stoddard.
I think
it
if
was
you can
trying
have
so hard here for so long, and then he goes to Tassie and he's getting a chance. It's great to see.
But
His
you
team's
know what's
getting thumped in NBL 1.
a cool moment this morning? I walked to the place. I'm staying at a joint in South Bank, and I just walked down to the Brisbane facility. So I hadn't seen it before. I walked into a reception, and there's this big 7-footer in the weight room. Come straight over and took it, Tyrell Harrison.
Tyrell.
I mean, Tyrell's I went back to John Paul College before the Rio Olympics, and Hendo, who was running it, they said, "Hey, Ming, we've got this kid here. Like he actually has played rugby, but he's 6'7" and he's skinny as, but God, he's got great hands and he's this and that." And Hendo was really excited about him. And anyway, so lunchtime I went down and just said, "Hey mate, how are you? I heard you're into basketball and stuff." And so we talked, and then the following year I went back again, and then so I still remember. I said, "Ty, what are you doing when you finish high school?" "Oh yeah, I want to play basketball." And I said, "Well, by that stage I was with the Bullets. I was with the Bullets, an assistant." And I said, "Look, why don't you come? Like, if you're not doing anything when you finished high school, just come down to training. We'll work you out. You can be around our team and stuff." And instead of going to schoolies, and he lived out like Browns Plains, the back of it, he had to catch like bus and train or whatever to get there. But he turned up to practice.
Wow.
Straight after high school. And look, he was raw as anything, and that excites me. So I walked into the gym today
And
after
there he
being
is.
away, straight over.
Mate, I take my hat
it's
off
a
to
sentimental
Tyrell.
moment to see a guy like that.
That's
That's almost 10 years down
And
the track.
he's only been at this club, but he's had his, we've had
Setbacks and-
we've had yes, and it was interesting. He mentioned about his good hands that Hendo said, but his hands haven't become NBL hands in his early part of his career. But the last 2 seasons, Terrell's been outstanding. He has really stepped up, and he's just gone and played in Puerto Rico, and he's done a great job.
a
Well,
hurt.
he played with Milton Doyle, the Tassie,
Right, okay.
who's now going to go to Melbourne. But big guys play with it. I still remember this. Will be another name-dropping throwback.
I love it.
Cameron Tregar
Sure.
and Scott Cook.
I remember.
I still remember Trevor Cook's son.
Yeah.
Under 16s. And Cam will attest to this. Bottom age under 16s it was. Couldn't run, chew, to take one of your sayings.
Yeah.
Couldn't run and chew gum and breathe at the same time.
Well,
but
if you can't shoot, Bruce often says go play hockey.
or chess. So he was just, growth spurts, awkward baby giraffe, all that stuff, like arms everywhere. But he, it settled, it kind of leveled out with his growth spurts. But he got to play with Scott Cook, who at the time,
Good point
great
guard.
soccer player as well, early developer, phenomenal footwork, spatial awareness, core vision, great hands, great point guard. And so you put an awkward little 14, 15-year-old big with an early performing and developing guard, and the chemistry, that they were able to develop at club basketball and then at school basketball. And you just see, you know, within 18 months, Cam Tregar went from an awkward club kid to making a Queensland state team to then getting the scholarship to the AIS. And
I don't know, Cam played a lot of games in the NBL.
Oh, amazing career. For what his level of kind of athleticism, he figured out his game and worked out how he could use his body and that. But my point is that like a big kid like Tyrell Harrison is like, I think the best thing for big kids obviously is if you can play with someone that can make the game easier for you, a coach that can really connect with you, or a player guard that can really deliver the ball, their confidence, all of a sudden they don't walk through the door.
He's come a long way.
The value of a point guard, right?
Yeah.
Like I love Mitch Norton. He's a great backup, right? They need a little. You were talking about all the skills that Scott had, right? You didn't mention shooting. He can hustle. He sets a great screen. He rolls. He hands up. But can you shoot? What's your number one offense? Let me, because we got a great coach in our company, Stevie. What's your number one offensive? What do you want? Number one offensive skill to be developed.
The ability to put the ball in the basket.
If not, play soccer, man. And you said Scott was a good soccer player. I immediately thought, oh, couldn't shoot. Yes, I agree with you. And everybody else, you know, so as a coach in our craft, it's pretty useful to be able to teach how to shoot. Correct, Wade? And get reps. So in your week, when you guys are playing NBA schedule of 4 games a week, how much practice time? Do you guys run individuals? Do they get 300 shots, 500 shots a day?
Yeah, and look, off time permitting, off mic, I'm happy to show you some of the stuff we do, but like that's an area that I oversee as a player development. We've got the 2 Japanese guys that lead it because it just makes sense.
Right.
So the thing I find, and with the player development side of it, and particularly with the growing profession of skills trainers, which I know is a hot topic for the last decade and still hasn't quite been figured out at a governance level. We've talked about trying to accredit skills trainers and all that stuff, but the ability to connect whatever the skills that are being worked on with the context of that skill being applied in a team environment, a team context, an offensive system. It's not about showing Halliburton or it doesn't. You name any NBA player, current NBA player, it doesn't matter. Like every person now can just show that move by an NBA player on their Instagram or TikTok, and then show themselves teaching that on a court. Marry the two and go, come to me, and I will develop this skill. I'll develop your skills. I'll tell you. Yeah. The real good ones are the ones that get the person. They can understand and really get the most out of that person when they're coaching them. But can you connect the player development to how they can fit that into their team and the role of what that team needs, and the coach saying, hey, you're going to do well and you're going to help us with a lot of positive impacts.
Great point.
If you can execute whatever those skills are that helps this team have efficient offense.
Yeah. But there's a whole population of people out there taking money to coach individually, as you know, and I don't have a problem because tennis and swimming have been doing that for 100 years, but it's the lack of control over. Hey, I played in NBL 1, and now I'm going to charge $100 now for people to come in, and I'm going to show them how to. But there's no context to where that's going, and a lot of the stuff online is about names of all these things. I do a drop drag with a crossover behind my head, and I look this, because someone in the NBA named it. I don't even know some of these names.
You're familiar with Gannon Baker, both of you, right?
Yeah.
And I remember he came and did a session for St. John's when Mike Dunlap was, Steve Lavin was the coach, but Lavin had health issues, so Mike was the acting head all year. Lavin had already organized for Gannon to come in and work his guys out. And after the work, and Gannon's great. Right, I had to tell him he came to China twice to the NBA school, and after the first your shtick, a lot of these kids came here last year. It's the same routine. So he changed it up, but that was Mike's thing. He goes, Mike, what'd you think of my session? And he goes, doesn't relate to anything that we do offensively.
Yeah.
We don't want guys, doing.
But it looks good. It looks good.
Raphael, and I use a lot of his drills with Curly's Academy.
Yeah.
I need him for my year 10As at grammar. Kids, they're all right.
But I think I love this this is a bit I'm starting to experience, I guess, maybe just the natural part of my coaching journey, because that's all I've done now for 20 years is like I'm starting to get into the start of the back half of my coaching career. Like I feel like I've got another 20 in me because I just love it. But as you get a little bit older, it's like you start looking at how do you continue to connect with the current age group of kids. There's stuff about different generation, how they learn, what engages them, how do they stay focused and motivate. So I think with player development and even with team tactics and scouting and feedback and how you structure your practice sessions is with players, it's so important that they need the wow. They need to be able to be like engaged immediately. And when it comes to like their skills, this ability to attract them with short-term improvement and impact.
Yeah.
Hey, we can, because at the end of the day, a kid knows if they're getting better. They know intrinsically if they actually are getting better at whatever the skill is. So can you really get the buy-in with them getting excited about whatever you are saying and how you're saying it and delivering it? Is it building their confidence to take on these new skills that they're working on and refining their strength? But when you get them hooked in that space, you keep tapping into the long-term lens. The best skills trainers, they all want to go to the NBA, or they all want to play pro, or they want to go to college and get a scholarship. So you've got this thing of like their long-term lens. There might be a 12-year-old kid that's just starting to fall in love with it, and they want to get there down the track. So you can talk to, he can get there down the track, no doubt. But right now, that's boom. And so the ability to kind of go between the two, I think. And so not selling them BS, which you see a bit of, but hey, right now. Hey, do you look someone in the eye when they're trying to coach you?
Do you keep analytics for them? So that's a great way of demonstrating, hey, last week you did this drill and you got 50% of your shots. This week you did it, no one defending you. You got 55%.
I think this generation of kids, they're gamified kids and they're online kids. Like they've got, they're so good at all the graphics and it's just amazing what they grow up on. So when you talk about giving like feedback loops, like having a goal and then going through a process and giving them feedback on monitoring progress, like they're so good, like they got access to Noah Analytics, or they're all got a Dr. Dish now if they go to like a workout facility. So
which we never had.
No. So the norm for a young player is they can shoot a ball and they can know about their launch angle of their jump shot, and they can know about like there's information that they know about. I think the challenge for coaches and coaching as you get either you're just starting out and it's overwhelming, or you're getting a little bit older and the technology's going so fast that it's like it can intimidate you a bit, is trying to strip it back to the basics, absolute basics, and
really good.
And understand that information, like not get caught up with all the bells and whistles and go right back to the bare bones of, like their basic footwork, shooting mechanics, their shot preparation.
Correct. So I'd like to see all these guys doing. There's a kid playing QSL with the Caps who runs this. He's got a stable of guys he works out, and he's making a living out of this. I would like to see these things certified in that, hey, there's a start, there's an end, there's, we're going to provide feedback for mom and dad because they're the ones who are paying for this, really. And that, we're going to get out of 1,000 shows, we're going to teach this. And we're going to be able to, you're going to walk away feeling like you've acquired something. BQ's always looking for money. Why wouldn't you accredit guys for this?
Yeah.
They got Georgie Robinson. You know Georgie?
I do.
Well, he's now
He was my assistant coach in Canterbury for 2 years.
Was he? Is he a Kiwi?
Yeah.
Oh. And you were holding that against him. So now he's doing
we all know
Luke
it's long and hard.
McGuire's job. Luke McGuire's doing Luke Can's job. not Luke McGuire.
Yeah, Luke McGuire.
Luke
Yeah,
McGuire.
Jess Boys.
And so it's a revolving door. Nobody knows the great, well-kept secret what the NPP teaches. I don't know, clue. I mean, it would be useful to know because we could teach that at grammar. We could teach that at BBI.
Yeah.
That it's here surprises me. I mean, we're all into the development of players.
I mean, that's the other thing. It's, as you said, how you execute it. Like, there's not, like you said, the Japanese seem to be concerned if you call a play that the other team know about it. Well, they've got video. They can see what you're doing anyway.
Yeah.
Like, what does it matter if you call it? You still got to defend it, but it's how you execute whatever it is you're doing. Like whether you run pack D or push to the baseline or what, it doesn't matter. It's how well you do it.
Totally agree. So we did a fun exercise one day. I was talking with the assistant coaches in Japan. We were talking about exactly this, the player development. Like that shot that we're working on right now, he's not taking that in the game because he's not confident enough. Now you can keep working on that as a mid-term project, but right now he's not efficient enough at catch and shoot and attacking a long closeout because our offensive system and the spacing that we have puts him in these areas of the floor and these actions. What are the most common actions and what are the areas of the floor that he finds himself in during the game?
Yeah.
And so based on that, what skills does he now, what skills does he have that he's really confident in doing?
Rather than practicing something that he's never going to do.
So I think like that's the stuff where we talk about connecting player development into executing something in a game. And then I know the big one in Japan is just reading plays. That's what Sean Dennis and Andre said. It's free thinking. It's almost counterintuitive to the culture there.
Yeah.
So like the ability to, like think about things. So we did this thing on a whiteboard once where I'm talking about like an offense or something, a pick and roll. What skills do we need on this side? Because we're talking about, there's all these just pre-dribbles, pre-setups and all this stuff based on where to... let's pick one pick and roll then. So let's pick one area, pick one pick and roll. Now let's hit that again. Like what do we need that player to do to be able to use the pick and roll?
If he's got to pop and he's got to...
Sorry, this was just the guard with the ball, guard with the ball. All right, so now we're talking about the area of the floor, and we're talking about the footwork skills, the ability to deal with a defender pressuring them and how they can get it to the pick. And we started talking about the screener. All right, and then the next section, the middle part of the ball was like the coverages. I say, let's not cover everything, but let's just pick like one aggressive coverage and then switch. So we just talked about those two areas. Like what is the skill package that you need against a trap or a hard show? Can you reject that thing? Are you splitting it? Like are you pocket passing it? Is it slipping?
If you don't practice it, you will never be good at it. But
there's so many layers to it though to be good at it.
On your website, do you have any clips of development drills, breakdown drills?
I do. I've got a YouTube channel too where kind of like the passion project when I was between coaching gigs.
That's a good time to do it.
I think it's about 90 odd videos,
Okay.
and like in today's standard of like graphics and all the overlay stuff is a bit higher, but the actual substance of it, I've tried to... basically, I'm putting together all the learnings that I've had. I'm just grabbing little videos.
Yeah.
Well, next play solutions. And your resume is really well done.
It's a very good website, Mickey. And what I was going to ask, so we're creating, Kyle, our producer's putting together our website under the name of the Reverse Pivot Podcast. And we want to be able to share, if you're willing.
Absolutely.
That these come from Next Play, Mick Downer's library.
Yep.
Right? Because I got a library. When I was in China, mate, that's what I didn't master fast draw.
Okay.
Fast enough. So I went to, I think we used it.
I lost about a decade of stuff on Basketball Playbook, the old Jesssoft thing back in the day.
That's what I still use.
And then moved to Fast Draw, and so I've got all that stuff there. But all I'm trying to, that's just a canvas. Hopefully my daughter, once I get older or whatever, she kind of looks at that, that's what Dad did, So
no, it's good, mate.
But it is to help coaches. But with the videos, it was already a saturated market with so many people doing stuff on skills. And then a lot, you see, and I love it. A junkie and that stuff, like slapping glass is one of them, where they show like the whole offense of like a European team. They go like, this EuroLeague team's got like this horn zipper something set, and they'll they'll overlay some graphics on it and talk about it. What I've tried to do with the videos is a little bit more of like the read. So I freeze it and say like the videos only short little videos, and I say like based on this defense here, like this is
The read.
the read. So kind of help, because it's the old like all the coaches they put their hand up and volunteer to coach under 12s, under 14s, under 16s. They either do what they did when they played, or they do what they see on the internet, or they do, if they did a coaching course, they do what they see. Now, do they understand what they're doing and why they're doing it?
Does it suit your talent?
Great, yeah, exactly. So that's the sort of, it's still got a long way to go, but I'm just trying to put together.
Well, we'll be promoting it, man.
Marry the two. So plus all the other resources, the clinics and the online presentations and bits and pieces. I just kind of chuck a lot of samples. I just put samples of practice session templates, or if people
You guys
can't
tape all your training sessions?
in Japan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We got all those fancy, the huddle focus cameras that do all the movement tracking.
And this is, and you're great at this, but I can't stand watching video anymore. When I was in Japan, mate. So I had a guy that, all right, and he spoke English, and he was Tom's assistant. Tom was the national coach of Japan at the time, so he was late. So I said, mate, I don't want any video, and everything was structured. Monday was my golf day. Monday's off because we'd always play Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Tuesday we're blowing out carbon, right? A lot of transition. Then Wednesday we would walk, now we're breaking down their shit, how to defend their side, pick and roll, cross screens, whatever they're doing. We do that in 4-on-4 cutthroat, right? And then Thursday was scouting, and we're really on us now. Thursdays, that's all, and I'm worried about them. We did that yesterday. So I said, mate, I don't want videoing to go any more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Because I know I can't, you fall asleep unless I'm watching me.
Yeah.
So first thing, nice graphics, sound. He's got music going. Fast break. And it's the opponent we're going to play stealing the ball and dribbling down, making a layup. And he had like 5 of these clips, and I had to say, they do that? They're the only team I've ever seen do that. I go, mate, I mean like early offense. It was my bad. I didn't make myself clear.
Yeah.
Here's all I want. I want their after timeouts. What do? They do anything special? So give me everything out of a timeout that you can find. Then I want, short clock situations. Both out of bounds, the shot clock's running. What do they get into elbow feed? Do they get in? Most everybody got into a pick and roll of some description. Zone? Do they zone? Do they, they mix up their D's?
Yep.
Other than that, mate, I want them to play instinctively. I don't care that here's 4, here's 2, here's this, and that's what our guys love. They're running 2, 2. Get
Mate, well, some of the players can't even remember their own stuff.
That's what I love our head coach, because he's like, he gets that, and so he's like
good.
But this is the thing I'll say about Japan. One of the parts I love, it is really similar to coaching like a FIBA event, because we'll go and we'll play Tokyo, coached by the former Lithuanian national team head coach. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but. So,
there's a Z in there. Very
Lithuanian. Point guard plays a 1, shooters plays floppy diamond sets is 2, 3s for the 3-man. And they've got all their little plays. So it is just like playing the Lithuanian national team. So you're in a club game and you're getting ready that week. You play a slow-paced, physical grind out. If a guy's hot, they go to it. They know there's a matchup advantage. They score off a back screen. It's going to be the next 5 plays. Couple of different entries and the exact same action. So that's the Lithuanian team. And then the next week we play, there's this other team that's like coached by a really successful Japanese coach. They're like Joey Wright's Adelaide team from back in the day. It's a track meet.
Right.
5-out delay stuff. Everyone can shoot it. Like imports can put it to the floor. So, that week of practice, you're getting ready for a completely different game style. And then you got a Wednesday game, and then it's like a mixture. There's a lot of teams that still run like flow or emotion kind of variation, like they got their main kind of structure.
Do you do all that editing, or do you have another?
No, so we this year my role changed this year to be more big picture. So I actually planned our practices. So coach has the macro plan. We talk all the time about, like the things we want to work on and stuff. I put it all together because he loved introduce some new drills my first year and kind of that. So I taught him their load management because let's not talk about that, but that's factored into it. So I put together our practice plans, which incorporates the scouting side of it obviously as well. And so with the video, we've got our 2 analysts that cut up a lot of the games, all the games, provide us with the cut games, but I'll watch 5 games of the opposition, their most recent or their most relevant. So I find like if we're playing this team, and we always watch their last game, but maybe the game before was against a team that's not even close to the way we play.
Right.
So I'll try and, there's always a couple of teams that are similar, so I'll go get those games and the analysts will get that cut up. So I'll watch those games because my job is the big picture. How are we going to beat this team? So when it comes to really breaking down personnel, their offenses and stuff, 2 of the coaches, we're in pairs basically, and we break up the teams. And so we'll just chunk it up, just like what you said before. So the first time we hit the opposition, still early in the week, but it'll just be set the table. Hey, they're a half-court, slow-down team, a lot of sets. This is their main 2 or 3 guys. Short video. And we might just, most of the time they're running something similar to us. So what is their main thing that gets them wins? Yeah. We'll cover that first. And then the next video, the next day will be a couple more of their players and kind of the next main highest frequency offenses.
Yeah.
And then the next day, if there are some bench players that are impactful guys,
what do they do?
Their change up. So if they are a zone team or they change their coverage, coverages on defense, so we'll get a bit more into our offense and how they defend. And then if they happen to what their zone offense is, if we put our zone in for that week.
Yeah.
And then we finish with situations. We always finish the last one, and then on game day it's just the summary.
How long are each of these sessions?
Those particular videos can be between 5 minutes and 20 minutes.
Okay.
Sometimes there's some long ones when you got the short turnaround. You got to kind of put it all together. You play Saturday, Sunday, and you got a Wednesday game. You travel Monday and you recover. You got Tuesday to get ready for a Wednesday game. Tuesday. So sometimes the merged one is longer, but we still, they've got their phones where they've got all the video. So they've got like a little 30-second video on each player. Hey, this is who the guy is.
Yeah.
This is his strength. This is what we're doing.
Preferences.
When I first got there, it was a highlight reel. I was watching the guys like, okay, so he can dunk it, he can shoot it,
and he listens to hip hop.
So we chunk it up, and then we have our team review as well, which the coach kind of takes the lead on. But we all watch, we provide feedback. He chooses the short list of what we show. We prioritize based on what we need and what to get ready for the next game.
Okay.
Player development, we all have 3 or 4 players each, so I get the imports because of the language barrier. So every individual player, I go through the game, I pull based on his plan for skill development, his role in the team, pull together some clips, I put it on WhatsApp. It's normally about a 2 to 3 minute video for that guy. I say, hey, you look at it, and then let's catch up for a coffee tomorrow, let's catch up at the hotel and we'll just talk about it. So man, you talk about 2 minute video, it is a ton of video.
A lot of video, and I just can't stand doing it anymore, man. So when Steve and I were together, we didn't look at video until we got to the semifinals. And then we noticed.
We're talking about teams that are training twice a week.
Well, it's QSL.
Yeah.
But even in my whole thing, my philosophy always changed. I don't care. I'm Johnny Wooden. I don't care what they do because our defensive rules aren't going to change. So side pick and roll, we force them to it. We were playing pack line. We're forcing everything middle.
Yeah.
But even now, what we're doing with these year 10s, they want to, we want to no middle, no paint. That's great to say. Just like, force it middle in pack line. You're going to get beat. I mean, you're going to have a long closeout, and you're not going to be able to get him to go or down the sideline. And we found the rotations, and we had one player, remember the the batteries went weak, and it went out. You mentioned the 3 things. If you're looking to recruit a player.
If you have the luxury of being able to watch film on a player, so maybe this is more NBL 1 and up, but I'd never recruit a guy unless I've seen full games. Also, games where they've lost, and take note of interactions with the coach and on the bench.
Yeah,
So,
that's great feedback.
Hey, while I've got a little bit of life left in the battery, I haven't given a shout out to our sponsors. You wouldn't think that we would have any.
I believe it's Brian Curl's basketball.
You got it, mate.
HIT.
FIT Education.
FIT.
Thank you to Chris Weir. Thank you to Brian Curl, mate. Running a great program there. Many things coming up. Check his website or check Facebook. Just check social media. And Big Dog Sports. You remember Ryan Stolberg?
Yeah.
Ran like
Big
an
Dog
orangutan.
Sports.
He Big Dogs with Benny T, silent partner.
Well, not so silent. Shh.
Don't let anybody know. So, hey, thanks, Big Dog. He's building courts everywhere. Are you getting ready to wrap this into a bow?
Well, that's what you're doing.
Well,
I was
let's
about to give him a handful of knuckles.
Load it up for me
Been a
too,
pleasure.
Mickey.
Been a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Mickey.
Mate, it's been great to have you on, mate. Fantastic. Mate, I really enjoyed that.